The fabric of American civil discourse was violently torn on September 10, 2025, on the seemingly placid campus of Utah Valley University in Orem. On a day that began with intellectual sparring and political debate, conservative activist Charlie Kirk was fatally shot while addressing a crowd of students and community members. The attack occurred shortly after the event began as Kirk was engaging with his audience. A single gunshot rang out across the campus green, instantly transforming a scene of free expression into chaos and tragedy. The shooter, who authorities believe fired from a long distance, managed to escape in the immediate aftermath, leaving a nation to grapple with the shocking assassination of a prominent political figure. The event, held outdoors, was the inaugural stop of Turning Point USA's American Comeback Tour. Around 2,000 people, mostly students, had gathered to hear Kirk speak and participate in his well-known Prove Me Wrong debate format. The shot was fired approximately 30 minutes into the presentation. The immediate aftermath was a blur of confusion and panic as attendees scattered and first responders rushed to the stage. Despite their swift arrival, Kirk's injuries were catastrophic. The university was placed on lockdown as a sense of profound shock settled over the campus, and soon, the entire country. As news of the targeted killing spread like wildfire across social media and news networks. This act of political violence, described by Utah Governor Spencer Cox as a political assassination, sent immediate shockwaves through the nation's political and social landscape. The killing of a public figure during a speaking event on a university campus struck at the heart of several core American principles: the safety of our educational institutions, the right to free speech, the ability to engage in political debate without fear of violence. As law enforcement launched a massive manhunt for the perpetrator, the country was left to confront the grim reality of an assassination. That seemed to be a direct consequence of our increasingly polarized and hostile political environment. The timing of the attack, just one day before the anniversary of September 11th, added a layer of somber significance to the tragedy. As leaders from all political affiliations began to issue statements of condemnation, a shared sense of horror and grief momentarily bridged the partisan divide. The incident at Utah Valley University was not merely the death of one man, it was a stark and brutal reminder of the fragility of democratic norms and the dangerous potential of superheated rhetoric. The questions it raised were immediate and deeply unsettling. How could this happen? And what does it mean for the future of the American experiment in self-governance? Charlie Kirk was one of the most prominent and influential conservative voices of his generation. As the founder and president of Turning Point USA, an organization he started in 2012 at the age of 18, he built a formidable grassroots network focused on promoting conservative principles on high school and college campuses across the United States. His mission was to empower young conservatives, challenge what he saw as left-wing dominance in academia, and advocate for free markets, limited government, and individual liberty. Through his relentless touring, social media presence, and syndicated radio show, Kirk became a leading figure in the modern conservative movement and a close political ally of President Donald Trump. His style was confrontational and direct, designed to provoke debate and challenge opposing viewpoints head-on. A signature format for his campus events was the Prove Me Wrong table, where he would sit and invite students to debate him on contentious political issues. The event at Utah Valley University was structured around this concept, part of the American Comeback Tour designed to engage directly with young voters. This approach earned him a massive, loyal following among conservatives who saw him as a courageous warrior for their values, and intense criticism from opponents who viewed his rhetoric as divisive, inflammatory, and often misleading. Kirk was no stranger to controversy or protest. His campus appearances frequently drew large crowds of demonstrators, and debates over his presence often roiled university administrations and student bodies. He embraced his role as a political lightning rod, arguing that the fierce opposition he faced was proof of the left's intolerance for dissenting opinions. Despite the constant pushback, he continued to draw significant crowds, tapping into a deep well of conservative sentiment among young people who felt their views were marginalized in educational and cultural institutions. His work fundamentally reshaped the landscape of campus activism for a new generation of Republicans. The purpose of his visit to Utah Valley University was consistent with his life's work: to bring his message directly to students in a public forum. He aimed to challenge prevailing campus orthodoxies and rally support for conservative causes. The tragic irony is that he was killed while participating in the very act of open debate that he championed. His assassination occurred not during a riot or a chaotic protest, but while he was actively engaging in a question-and-answer session, the cornerstone of his public persona. His death marked the violent end of a career dedicated to political speech, leaving a void in the conservative movement and a chilling question about the safety of expressing controversial ideas in public. The moments leading up to the shooting were, by all accounts, typical of a Charlie Kirk event. He was on stage, engaging with a student who had asked a question about transgender issues and mass violence. Former Congressman Jason Chaffetz described the atmosphere as energetic, filled with about 2,000 people. The setting was an open lawn at the university. Then, in an instant, a single sharp crack shattered the afternoon air. Many first thought it was a technical glitch or a firecracker. It sounded like a firecracker, and then I just saw so much blood come out of the left side of Charlie's neck, and then he went limp. Others nearby gave similar accounts. Confusion turned to shock. Horror as Kirk collapsed. The rally became a crime scene, disbelief, panic, a desperate scramble for safety. Security and first responders rushed the stage. Most of the crowd fled the other way. People ducked behind trees, behind benches, behind whatever cover they could find. Student Sarah Toole said she was in total shock. The image of him struck down was seared into witnesses' minds. Minutes later, police swarmed the area and set a perimeter. Officers guided panicked students to safety. The open lawn was now a landscape of fear. The single precise shot suggested it was planned. Law enforcement said the shooter fired from a distance, possibly a rooftop. The shooter vanished, leaving a scene of tragedy and a traumatized community. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, law enforcement initiated a massive and urgent response, but honestly, the initial hours were marked by confusion. The Orem Police Department and Utah Valley University campus police quickly placed the university on lockdown and began a systematic search of the campus. Early reports were conflicting. The university initially stated that a suspect was in custody, a piece of information that, for a brief moment, brought a fleeting sense of relief. However, this was soon walked back, and officials clarified that the shooter remained at large. This correction really underscored the difficulty of the situation. The assassin had seemingly melted away without a trace. The investigation rapidly escalated, with the FBI and the Utah Department of Public Safety joining the effort. The search for the killer became the top priority, with law enforcement agencies coordinating a statewide manhunt and soon a national manhunt. Authorities released a vague description of the suspect, described as being dressed in all dark clothing, but admitted they had very little to go on. The long-distance nature of the shot suggested a skilled marksman who had planned the attack with chilling precision, selecting a vantage point that offered a clear line of sight while allowing for a swift and unseen escape. As the investigation broadened, authorities detained and questioned two individuals who were initially thought to be connected to the assassination. However, after extensive interviews, the FBI and Utah Public Safety issued a joint statement confirming that these persons had no ties to the shooting. This development was a setback, confirming that the perpetrator was still unidentified and at large. The statement also officially characterized the event as a targeted attack, reinforcing the belief that Charlie Kirk was specifically assassinated for his political prominence and beliefs, a conclusion that sent a further chill through an already shaken nation. As of today, September 11, 2025, the manhunt continues with an air of grave urgency. Law enforcement officials are combing through surveillance footage, interviewing hundreds of witnesses, and appealing to the public for any information that might lead to an arrest. The fact that a political figure could be assassinated in broad daylight, surrounded by hundreds of people and a nominal security presence, and the killer could simply disappear, has raised profound and disturbing questions. The ongoing search is not just about bringing a murderer to justice. It is about reassuring a frightened public that such brazen acts of political violence cannot go unpunished in a free society. With the shock of Charlie Kirk's assassination still raw, urgent questions immediately arose regarding the security measures in place for the event. The gathering was held in an open public space on the Utah Valley University campus, making it inherently difficult to secure compared to an indoor venue. Multiple witnesses, including student Sarah Toole, noted a conspicuous lack of robust security protocols. She and others told reporters that there were no metal detectors for attendees to pass through, and nobody was inspecting bags upon entry. This minimal approach to security for a high-profile and often controversial speaker has become a central focus of the investigation's aftermath. The decision to host a prominent and polarizing figure like Kirk in such an exposed environment is now under intense scrutiny. While open-air events are common on college campuses, the specific nature of Kirk's work, which frequently attracted vocal and sometimes hostile protests, would typically warrant a more significant security detail. The fact that the shooter was able to fire from a distance, completely undetected, highlights a critical failure in risk assessment and preparation. A comprehensive security plan should have included sweeps of nearby buildings and rooftops that offered a clear vantage point of the stage. Former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who was present at the event, also commented on the security situation, expressing his surprise at how vulnerable the setup appeared to be. The reliance on a small number of visible security personnel near the stage was clearly insufficient to counter a threat from a determined and well-prepared assassin. The incident serves as a tragic lesson in modern event security. The perimeter of concern must extend far beyond the immediate crowd. In an era of increasing political hostility, protecting public figures requires a 360-degree approach that anticipates threats not just from within an audience but from afar as well. In response to the tragedy and the security concerns it has laid bare, Utah Valley University announced the closure of all its campuses through Sunday, September 14th. This measure is intended to allow law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation without interference, and to give the campus community time to grieve and process the trauma. However, the incident will inevitably force a nationwide reevaluation of security protocols for political events, especially on college campuses. The balance between maintaining an open and accessible environment for free speech and ensuring the physical safety of speakers and attendees has been violently upended. And universities everywhere will now have to confront this difficult new reality. In a rare moment of unity in a deeply fractured nation, the assassination of Charlie Kirk elicited immediate and unequivocal condemnation from across the entire political spectrum. President Donald Trump gave a somber Oval Office address, calling Kirk a martyr and ordering flags at federal buildings lowered to half-staff. A dark moment for America. Former President Joe Biden said he and Jill Biden were praying for Kirk's family. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the attack vile and reprehensible. The shared revulsion briefly paused partisan warfare, reminding Americans of common democratic values. The assassination of Charlie Kirk on a university campus forces a painful and necessary reckoning with the state of free speech, campus safety, and political life in the United States. His death is not merely a political tragedy, but a direct assault on the foundational principles of a free society. The incident raises the immediate and chilling prospect of a heckler's veto enforced by the barrel of a gun, where controversial ideas are silenced not by debate or protest, but by murder. This creates a dangerous precedent that could intimidate speakers from all sides and lead to a chilling effect where only the safest, most sanitized opinions can be voiced without fear. Universities, long considered bastions of free inquiry and open debate, now face a monumental challenge. The security failures at Utah Valley University will compel institutions nationwide to implement more stringent, and likely more costly and restrictive, security measures. This could lead to secure zones, metal detectors, and a fortress-like atmosphere for political events, fundamentally altering the open and accessible nature of the college campus, and limiting the spontaneity of public debate. The broader implications for American political discourse are profound. Many commentators point to increasingly dehumanizing language used by all sides, arguing that such rhetoric can create a permission structure for violence in unstable minds. This tragedy forces a difficult conversation about the line between passionate advocacy and dangerous incitement, and whether our political culture has crossed it. Ultimately, Charlie Kirk's assassination is a moment of crisis for American democracy. It compels us to ask, can we maintain a society where we settle differences through persuasion and the ballot box, or one where political violence becomes a grimly accepted tool of ideological struggle? The path forward requires renewed commitment to peaceful engagement, even with those we most vehemently disagree with. It demands defending the right to speak freely while rejecting the politics of personal destruction. The memory of what happened at Utah Valley University must not catalyze more hatred and division, but be a solemn, urgent call to repair the frayed fabric of our civil society.